A warning for Americans before traveling to Mexico for spring break or vacation. 3 women from Texas are missing after they crossed the border to sell clothes at a flea market more than 2 weeks ago. Their disappearance just a week before 4 Americans were kidnapped. 2 were killed, 2 were released. Joining me now is Todd, moderator of Meet the Press. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Christy.
Senator Menendez, who is chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, is one of your guests today. So let's talk about the U.S.'s neighbor to the south. After 4 people were shot, 2 killed, now 3 are missing. What are the growing concerns about the capability of U.S. citizens to be safe in Mexico?
Look, northern Mexico, I talked with a very senior national security official a couple months ago who said to me that northern Mexico right now was as dangerous of a place on this planet as Syria was. And, you know, where there's some it's ungoverned. It is not governed by the Mexican government. They've basically ceded the governing, if you will, to these cartels there. It's almost been a bit of a truce. There's been a lot of murders. A lot of journalists have been murdered for trying to do any reporting. A lot of civilians have been murdered. And there's sort of a rule by fear. And the U.S. government would like to do more about these cartels, but you can't do anything if the Mexican government doesn't also want it to be done. It's very similar. Look, we had this problem with Colombia in the 80s, but the difference is the Colombian government wanted America's help. And, you know, it was with America's help that they basically were able to defeat the cartels. It took years, right? It was not easy. It took years, and now Colombia is arguably one of our most important allies in South America. This current president of Mexico campaigned on sort of a truce. There was the last president did want to try to take on these cartels. There was a lot of violence, a lot of clashes. This president decided to have a hands-off approach, and I think that's going to make it very difficult for us to do much about these cartels for now.
All right, let's pivot to the presidential race now. There has been some speculation that the more legal trouble the former president finds himself in, the more that could help him with the voters. We're talking about former President Trump here. You think that's still the line of thinking, that his base is almost embracing the everyone against Trump mantra again?
Well, here's the thing. We know this. Any other elected official, if they had the word indicted in front of their title, indicted member of Congress, indicted former this, indicted former that, it would be a negative for voters. Trump has always been able to flip this script because he consistently claims that he's persecuted. And so by doing that and by staying consistent on that, his folks have been with him since the Access Hollywood tape, and none of that mattered, right? It's hard to imagine they're going to go away over this. Now, the question, though, is does it, you know, where I could see this hurting him in the primary is if this happens. While these indictments don't hurt him among the voters that are already with him, if he starts to not look good in matchups against Biden, if suddenly, okay, his people haven't left him, but boy, swing voters don't like this indictment stuff, and he's suddenly down 10 points, that could have an impact on some primary voters. But that might be it. And there's every chance in the world, especially if the first indictment is about the Stormy Daniels situation and not January 6th, it's very possible this boomerangs, at least in the primary, in favor of Trump.
All right, Chuck, thanks so much. Meet the Press airs at 10, right after 11 Alive, Weekend Morning News.